The town of Hull, Massachusetts is located on a peninsula on the southern edge of Boston Harbor. Located at the very end of the peninsula is Hull High School. As you can tell, there's a limited amount of land around there. So next to the high school, very close to the water, the football team and the baseball team share a field. This makes it strange for many reasons. It's surrounded by water on most sides, and also has to be one of the closest fields to the water that there is. It might be even more weird for baseball, with center field looking really short. And for football, it's strange to see the extra turf space behind the sideline where the baseball infield is. There's just really one section of seats, which goes along the main sideline and is right behind the school. At night, you can see the Boston skyline in the background, which looks pretty cool. There's also a 210-foot tall wind turbine, which is located right behind one of the end zones. Overall, this is one of the coolest and most interesting high school football fields that I've ever seen. Waianae High School in Waianae, Hawaii is also located very close to the water. They play at Raymond Torrey Stadium, which is just steps from the ocean. The stadium is also very nice, with new turf that was recently put in. There's a track going around it, and two pretty large-sized seating areas along the sidelines. One has 3 separate sections, and the other is one long one. It also has some amazing views of the surrounding landscape. If you look one direction, you'll see the water, and if you look the other way, you can see mountains. The stadium was built in 1957, and previously had a natural grass playing surface before recently adding the new turf. Next up, we have Horn Field in Red Lion, Pennsylvania, where the Red Lion High School football team plays. This is another field where the football team and baseball team share. There's many interesting things about this one. First of all, the field is built into a hill. So for football, you have a very large grandstand that is perfectly aligned with the ground. Above it is the press box and then a road behind that as well. And on each side of the stands, there's a wooded area of trees, which surrounds part of the field. And back to the grandstand, this looks much larger and higher up than most high school fields. But then they have another section of seats on the other side, and that one isn't small either. However, it's temporary, as you can see the baseball infield literally right underneath it. And the fact that it is also a baseball diamond makes it that much more interesting. Here are some pictures of what it looks like for baseball. It's kind of weird to see a giant section of seats past dead center field. Overall, there's a lot to look at here, and it's one of the more interesting high school fields for both football and baseball. Next, we go west, also in Pennsylvania, to just outside Pittsburgh to the southeast at the Wolverina. This stadium is home to the Woodland Hills High School Wolverines in Turtle Creek. Here, it's a mix of a lot of very interesting things. For one, this too is built into a hill, which always makes things interesting. The view of the landscape around it has some great views, especially from the main bleachers, but they also have quite a bit of seats here. The main stands are extremely large for a high school, and on the other side the bleachers are very large as well. The stadium was built in 1942, and also the seats are very close to the field, being less than 10 yards away. Valley View High School in Moreno Valley, California plays at a field with bright red turf. Now, we've seen this before, first at Eastern Washington University and then at Clark Atlanta University, but I haven't seen it yet for high school until now. It's always really weird to see this, because bright red just seems crazy and is hard on the eyes. Maybe that plays to their advantage if they're used to it. And in Southern California, where it's almost always sunny, it makes it seem even brighter. In addition to the red turf, they also have a pretty decent amount of seats, with good-sized bleachers on both sidelines of the field. Last time we talked about Stadium Bowl in Tacoma, Washington, but there's another weird high school football stadium not too far away, also in Tacoma. It's called Lincoln Bowl and is the home of Lincoln High School football. And it also looks like they have a square baseball field, which is kind of weird. But anyways, for this stadium, as you can tell by its name, it's a bowl. It's very cool to see the landscape going up all around the field, and bowls are always fun to see games at. This one is surrounded by woods, making it more interesting. And there are 2 very large and unique shaped bleachers, one on each sideline. The playing surface is turf, and there's also a running track going around the field. It actually looks like the main bleachers with the press box is the smaller one, and they start to curve with the track. On the other side, the larger bleachers gets more narrow going towards the top. It's crazy just how many seats there are there. Massillon High School plays football at Paul Brown Stadium in Massillon, Ohio. This is an extremely large and nice high school football stadium with a capacity of 16,600. It opened in 1939 and has been named after Paul Brown, who coached the high school football team from 1932 to 1940. He then went on to be the head coach at Ohio State and later on the Browns and Bengals of the NFL. This stadium is obviously massive for a high school. Something that's funny is to look at all the seats for the football field and then look at all the seats for the baseball field next door. The football team also has an indoor practice facility, which is also amazing for a high school. Next, we have a field with a great view. Gippsland County High School is located in Black Hawk, Colorado, and is a little ways west of Denver. Obviously in Colorado there's some great landscapes. The field really just has one main bleachers, which is not that large. Behind it though, the land goes up and you can see a mixture of hills and trees. From those bleachers, or even better, up on that hill behind the bleachers, the view is really great. There you can see tons of trees, Missouri Lake, and even mountains. You can also see mountains past the end zones as well. Overall, it's got to be one of the greatest views in high school football. Elder High School in Cincinnati, Ohio plays at a field known as the Pit. This field looks to be located in a neighborhood, but there's a thin layer of woods directly around it. Then there are seats going almost all the way around it. One section of seats goes along the entire sideline and then curves around an end zone. The other is a little bit smaller and goes along the other sideline. Elder is known for having great crowds and a tough environment for opposing teams to play in, because in addition to the large amount of seats, they're also very close to the field and they don't go up that high. So I would imagine that the fans feel like they're sort of right on top of you. Overall, this field seems like a great place to watch a high school football game. Up next is the Mustang Bowl in Sweetwater, Texas. It's the home of the Sweetwater Mustangs football team. This stadium is obviously a bowl and has curving seats going all the way around the field. It's rare to see seats going all the way around the field for high school, but it's much less rare in Texas. However, the two main seating areas along the sidelines have actual seats or bleachers, and around the curved areas past the end zones they're not actual seats, and I'm not quite sure what you would call it, but there's concrete going up and you can sit there. The stadium has great history and is one of the better places to watch a high school game. In Morgantown, West Virginia, at Morgantown High School, it's a pretty cool football field. It's surrounded by school buildings almost all the way around, and the high school buildings look very nice on their own and originally opened in 1927. Many of the classroom windows probably have a great view of the field, and you could even watch a game from inside the school. The field also has a good amount of seats, with decent-sized bleachers on each sideline. There also looks to be a very small bleachers past one end zone. Past another end zone there's a building and also woods. The ground is also slanted down, where on one side the field is below ground and on the other it's about at ground level. Now we go to Duluth, Minnesota, to Duluth East High School. They play at Ordine Field, which is located very close to the water of Lake Superior. When you're at the field, it looks even closer to the water. Duluth has lots of hills, so that makes you get a view of the lake in the distance. It also makes the overall surrounding of the field look more interesting. They have one bleachers for seats along the main sideline, and past that sideline and down to the end zone you can see the view of the water. On the other side of the field there's what looks like a thick forest, and then they have what looks like a retaining wall going up past the track towards the end of the sideline. This retaining wall goes all the way around the other end of the field. There's another interesting football field in Duluth, but this one is in Duluth, Georgia. It's the home of Duluth High School football and they play at Duluth Wildcat Stadium. The thing that I noticed first is the impressive bleachers that they have. They both go up very high and the capacity is said to be close to 10,000. Surrounding the field is a good amount of trees in all directions, but what I also noticed is that there appears to be a pond just past the northwest end zone. The stadium also seems to be sort of a natural bowl, which helps with the design. Next we go to Branson, Colorado, which is on the southern border of the state near New Mexico. Branson is a very small town with a population of just 57, and the high school football team is at the northeast corner of the town. Past the field, it looks like it's all desert. For many years, Branson played at a field of natural grass, which many called the worst high school football field in America. With it being in the desert, the field was mostly made up of dirt. There were things like cactus, wood chips, or even gopher holes on the playing field at times. The team would also practice off the field on a dirt patch. But in 2021, the team got a brand new turf playing surface, which looks much better. Branson combines with Kim School District, which is about 45 minutes away, for their football team. And looking at the field, there's really no seats at all. Most fans just bring folding chairs or stand or sit on the ground to watch the games. In the distance, the view of the desert and Colorado landscape is very unique and cool. This is certainly one of the most interesting high school football fields in America. Two high schools in West Virginia play at East-West Stadium. It's home to both Fairmont Senior High School and East Fairmont High School as well. This field has an interesting bleachers that does not go up that high, but runs along the entire sideline. Then it curves and goes past part of an end zone. It was built in 1938 and is very historic. It's kind of interesting how there's so many seats on one sideline and then none on the other. Instead, they have grass and a scoreboard. This stadium also has one of the more interesting tracks that I've seen going around it. It's not the common oval shape, but it's more of a square. Next, we have the Tomato Bowl in Jacksonville, Texas. This stadium is the home to the Jacksonville High School Fighting Indians and opened in 1940. The stadium is named the Tomato Bowl for Jacksonville being called the tomato capital of the world, as Jacksonville was a major producer of tomatoes. The high school stadium is very nice, even for Texas, who's known for having amazing high school football stadiums. The capacity is about 8,300, and there are two large sections of seats, one on each sideline. Several buildings are also around the field on the premises, and there is a distinct fence going around the whole property. The stadium is also on a hilltop, which is cool to see. Next up, we have Mount Carmel High School in southern Illinois. Located in the city of Mount Carmel, the football team plays at Riverview Stadium, which is nicknamed the Snake Pit. The stadium is built sort of in the hill and close to the Wabash River, and it has one of the most unique bleachers I've ever seen. Built into a hill, Mount Carmel has one giant section of seats that goes all the way up the hill. It's not very wide, but it looks like a gigantic staircase. The high school sits atop the hill, and the players walk down the 115 steps in the middle of the seats to get down to the field before the game. There's also a very small section of seats across the field on the other sideline. Back before levees were built, the water from the nearby river would sometimes reach the stadium, and it would leave behind snakes, which is how the nickname the Snake Pit came about. The field is also surrounded by woods on one end, and overall this is a very unique high school football stadium. Sandpoint High School in Sandpoint, Idaho is a very interesting stadium. They play at War Memorial Field, and it's located right next to the water. As you can see, it's a 3-in-1 of football, baseball, and softball all on the same field. It is turf, so the infields are just past one of the sidelines. On the other sideline, there's a very interesting looking bleachers. It has a roof over it, and it used to have the press boxes directly up top, which was really close to the field. Now it looks a little bit newer and different, but still very interesting. For baseball and softball, a temporary fence is set up in front of the grandstand. The field also has some incredible views of the surrounding area. Valdosta High School in southern Georgia plays at Bazemore Hyder Stadium. The stadium opened in 1924 and was renovated in 2004. It has a capacity of over 11,000 and is one of the nicest high school football stadiums that I've seen. It's also home to the Division II college team Valdosta State University. This is a true stadium, and you can see from the outside just how large it is. There are two very large sections of seats on the sidelines. At the ends there are no seats, but the stadium is enclosed with other buildings or walls. Surrounding it is a park with some nice woods, and the main stands even have the school's logo design on the seats. Tacoma High School in Southern California is a very unique football field. It is surrounded by an amazing landscape and has some very cool views. You can see what looks like giant rocks and mountains all around behind it. The football field is right on the edge of the school property and fits in perfectly. The field also has a really good amount of seats. There's sort of two sections on each side with a walking path in between. Overall, as far as location and views, this has got to be one of the best in the country. Next we have Carl Oshman Stadium, another one in Pennsylvania, and this one is northwest of Pittsburgh. It's located in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, and is the home of Aliquippa High School. The field looks like it's built right into the woods, but there's also a hill going down that the field is built into. Past the fence on the far sideline, there's a pretty steep hill. The field was recently rebuilt, and it looks very nice now. The main grandstand is also very large and draws great crowds for games. Staying in Pennsylvania, we go over to Berwick High School, who plays at Crispin Field. This is one of the more interesting high school football fields that I've seen. The location is kind of odd. It's located about 5 minutes away from the high school in what looks like a sort of industrial part of town. Some have said the field looks like a prison yard. It does not look like the typical high school football field area, that's for sure. But there's a wall surrounding the property of the stadium and then a really good sized bleachers. In fact, each bleachers is pretty large along the sidelines. The field is turf and the overall property and area is pretty flat, especially compared to some of the other fields we've seen. At the end of the day, it's very interesting. Conley Stadium in Providence, Rhode Island is the home to the Mount Pleasant High School football team. This stadium is a nice classic high school football field with a turf playing surface, a track around it, and a tiny bleachers on the visitor's side. But on the home sideline, it has one of the more unique bleachers that I've ever seen. It's very large and has a cool rounded design to it as well. Plus, the blue adds to the uniqueness. For a high school, that is a massive seating area. Next up is Union, Oklahoma. Union High School is pretty large with about 3,500 students and is located in Tulsa. But their football field is something else. This stadium can compete for the nicest high school football stadium in America. There are around 10,000 seats and a giant grandstand at each sideline. In fact, there's even a sort of upper deck on the main sideline, which was a recent addition. There's a building past one of the end zones, and it's a really great facility overall. Another great stadium is Berry Center. This is located in northwest Houston, and Cypress Fairbanks High School football plays there. This stadium reminds me of a professional one, how it's completely surrounded by parking lots. The complex has an arena as well as the football stadium. Football has a capacity of 11,000 and opened in 2006. There's an upper deck on the main sideline and a very professional looking press box area up top. Even the visiting sideline has an upper deck. Overall, this stadium is insane for high school. Owasso High School in Owasso, Oklahoma has another amazing stadium for high school football. This stadium has seats on 3 sides of the field and a building at the other end. That makes it almost completely closed off around it. They also have a nice looking video board. Everything here seems new and really good. The stadium opened in 1994 and has a capacity of just over 10,000, which is very large for high school obviously. Hugh Mills Stadium in Albany, Georgia is the home of 2 high school football teams. They are the Doherty High School Trojans and the Westover High School Patriots. It opened in 1938 with a capacity of 11,500, so it's very large for high school. The stadium is interesting because in addition to being very large, it has a curving grandstand which I haven't seen often. On the other side, there's another large section of seats. I know this field is shared by schools, but it's still very cool, and it's a bowl which I also like. Up next we have the Academy of Holy Angels in Richfield, Minnesota. There are a few fields similar to this around the country, but I still thought this was really interesting. The field looks nice but not that weird, with a main grandstand, turf field, and a woods behind it. But in the wintertime the field can turn into a dome, as they inflate it and then they can use it as a field house. Now they don't play football games indoors because they're not able to get any of the seats inside, and so they inflate it after the football season. But during the winter they can use it for practices and gym classes and things like that, which is very cool, as the inflatable roof just goes right over the football field playing surface. Next we go to Mitchell High School in North Carolina. This is the home of the Mountaineers football team. The stadium is a natural bowl built into the ground and the seats blend right in. The main grandstand is very large, and the school installed turf in recent years for the playing surface, as well as made a few other upgrades. I think it also has some great views here as well. Finally, we have Gloucester High School in Gloucester, Massachusetts. They play at New Balance Stadium. This is a pretty cool stadium. For one, it's located very close to the water and has some really nice views. Also, they have a pretty long grandstand going along the main sideline. And behind it and next to it is a small patch of thick woods. I really like this stadium and I think that it has some great views and the field looks really nice. If you've been to any of these stadiums, please leave a comment and say what they're like. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.